Hey, this is Ben and Cam from Unapologetically, and on this quick video we're going to be talking about the power of authenticity. It's very authentic right there. And I'm going to start off with this quote from Carl Jung. It goes like this: "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There's no recipe for living that suits all cases. Each of you carries their own life plan, which cannot be superseded by any other." And the reason I love that quote so much is because it really illustrates the power of authenticity. It really shows you why it's so important to just let it all hang out. It really shows you that, you know, if you want to be true to yourself, you can't go copy someone else. Everyone who is successful in life, and by success I mean who does well for themselves, that's because they've followed their own life plan. And if you try and copy that, you're just going to end up being very frustrated. So we just thought we'd talk a bit about how to really embrace your own authenticity, even though it's really scary sometimes, even though it looks ridiculous sometimes, and how you can start living that so that you can be true to yourself and you can really live to your greatest potential.
So today's video, as Ben said, is about authenticity, why it's important and how to be authentic. And in this day and age, most of us have lived a life where we're trying to please others or live our lives under society's kind of desired way of being.
Rules.
Yeah, rules and the ways that we're supposed to be, ideologies that are supposed to become us, and we're supposed to take them on full-heartedly. But most of the time, this doesn't work for us, and definitely leads to a life of unhappiness if this is all that we embody, somebody else's ideals, ways of thinking and feeling.
And it's a really tricky one, right? Because from a very early age, doesn't matter what culture you come from. We're not just ragging here on our society. This is all societies. Doesn't matter if you're born in Japan, Bali, Russia. We all have this same pressure put on us of this way is right, this way is wrong. This is an acceptable way to express yourself. This is unacceptable. And that starts from childhood. And from childhood, we are ingrained with all of the belief systems that we carry through our entire life, which is really powerful if you think about it right now. Unless you've done a lot of inner work, you are still probably carrying beliefs and ideas from your childhood, including this is acceptable, this isn't acceptable. And when it comes to parts of your own personality and really expressing who you are, if you have this feeling like this is not acceptable, like my ridiculous laugh or my curly brown hair is not acceptable, or my angry thoughts towards other people aren't acceptable, then you're going to push that stuff down.
Yeah.
And that's going to create a real sense of inauthenticity in you. And what happens when we feel inauthentic?
Well, what happens is, the more that you feel that and the more that you reinforce that, you continue to go along with somebody else's ideas. It could be your parents, it could be society, your friends at school. You keep on pushing down the things you truly believe in and what you truly want to do in life. So where it may have started as you could have been in the playground as a child and a game that you wanted to play was no longer cool, you got chided for it, and then you stopped saying that you liked that game, you stopped playing that game, but deep down you really missed playing that game. It was something that you really enjoyed, and you've lost that part of you. But when you get older and then you go to make life decisions such as what to study in university, what career do I go into, you then also continue to do what your parents told you or what society sees as acceptable, and then you're going to live a life in unhappiness, essentially.
And the only reason we're actually talking about this right now is because there's been a lot of movement in our society lately. Let's say over the last 20 years, there's been a lot of movement back towards things that are authentic, which is why we have hipsters, which is why more than ever, young people especially are wanting to do physical work or looking for products they can buy that are naturally made, or we're intrinsically drawn to people who speak their mind, to people who say it like it is, because we're sick, especially millennials, we're sick of all this plastic, inauthentic, corporate sponsored, trying to please the masses type of language, ways of being. Like, it's just, we see straight through it, especially our generation. So our generation's really craving this authenticity. And I'll just give you some examples of the kind of areas of life this actually impacts on. So we're not just talking about, I don't feel like I can express myself at a party or around my friends or with my parents or with my colleagues at work. It's not just that. This is about what type of music you listen to. This is about what kind of food you eat. This is about the kind of clothes you wear. This is about the career that you're working. This is about what you will and won't say on social media. This is the kind of conversations you will and won't have with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend. It affects every aspect of your life. And the greatest tragedy is to go through and spend 20, 30, 40 years, like I'm sure you may have seen your parents do, or people from your family, or you might even seen this in yourself. You've spent years or decades living in a way that's not actually true to you, and it may have even got to the point where you no longer even remember what you actually want or who you actually are. And I know that around this time last year, that was when I was going through that crisis of who the hell am I? I've built so much of my life around I need to be this certain way so I can get girls, or so I can succeed in business, or so, my videos will be popular and all that kind of stuff. And I really had to do some work to come back to find my authenticity. And it took me a long time. I'm still on that journey. But what do you think are some of the most powerful things that you can do to really find your authenticity, if that's something you're looking for?
I really think there's a lot of inner work involved in, finding your authenticity. So you could be journaling, finding out, what's coming up for you when you're all by yourself. Look at when you are alone, what things do you like to do? Listen to the times that you say yes to people but you actually want to say no. A great kind of, it's a bit cheesy, but when I always think of being authentic, I think of this film, The Runaway Bride, and how Julia Roberts has to then go and choose all the different eggs that she used to like and actually choose the one she does like now when she's alone, completely by herself. And for me, that just goes to show how a lot of people take on all these personality traits. They like all, like you were saying, clothing, music, of all the friends that they've had, of all the partners that they've had, and then they find themselves alone and don't know what they actually like. So when you are alone, it's important to listen to yourself, what you want to do.
Yeah. Being alone is a really key part of this whole process. Because if you're not alone, you're just constantly absorbing the energy and the opinions and the ways of being of the people around you. It's so easy to just get into that groupthink, mindless, faceless way of thinking and losing touch with yourself. So I would say one of the most important things is to spend more time alone. We've got this big fear in our culture about being alone because it makes us think that we're not worth anything, but actually this is one of the greatest ways to show yourself that you are worth something. I mean, how do we treat the people who we most love in our life? We spend one-on-one time with them alone. So it could just be a matter of you setting aside a definite time each day, having a morning ritual, or having one time each week when you go out into nature to spend some time alone, to journal, to ask yourself the question, who am I really? What do I really like? How can I start doing more of that, sharing more of that, speaking more of that, feeling more of that? And that's pretty much the best place to start. Spend more time alone, spend more time asking yourself those really key questions. So that's pretty much all I've got to share on that.
Yeah.
We go.
Do you have any personal experiences any other personal experiences that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so lately, the only reason this has come up is because lately I've been doing a lot of shadow work and really getting in touch with my hidden parts, because that's part of this whole process of becoming more authentic, is remembering parts of yourself that you've forgotten. So for me, one of those parts is anger. I've always seen anger as this negative thing. Not because anyone told me it was or any of this or any of that. I just kind of I started to believe from a young age that anger was a bad thing. And also that self-criticism is a really subtle point. Self-criticism was wrong and should never be allowed. You know, we should always just love ourselves unconditionally, which I do believe. But also, we should allow space for self-criticism instead of suppressing it. It gets ugly when you suppress it, and that's what I was realizing recently, was that I'd held back a lot of self-criticism because I didn't feel like I could handle it, basically. But when a certain event happened and it triggered me, I went off for a drive, and I actually got really angry at myself, and I was actually like yelling in my car like a crazy person, criticizing myself, like, you did this, you did that, you're not good enough, this, that, this, that, this, that. And I actually did that for a good 20 minutes and just got it all out of my system. And that sounds really intense, and it's probably one of the most intense times of my life. But what I took from that was I finally understood parts of me that I'd been holding back on. And when I let those parts express themselves in a healthy way, not lashing out and stabbing someone, but I let myself express that in a healthy way, I felt a lot better, and I felt a lot more self-aware. And now I'm learning to integrate those parts into my daily life so that I don't need to go for a drive and yell at the top of my lungs. I can actually just listen to the self-criticism when it comes up, listen to what it has to say, listen to the anger when it comes up, what does it actually have to tell me, and then express it in a healthy way.
And that way it can be constructive.
And use it for constructive things. So I hope you really enjoyed that video. It was quite an authentic video for us. And we're actually going to be releasing this week a brand new program which goes very deep on all of this stuff. Everything to do with finding out who you really are. So if you're interested in that, it's quite an extensive program. It goes very, very deep on who you are, what your natural gifts, strengths, talents are, your area of genius, your life purpose. It goes very, very deep on all these topics. If that's something you're interested in, please inbox us or comment below, I'm in, and we'll send you some information on that. But it's going to be really exciting. We put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, a lot of groundwork.
And all of it's come from our personal experiences as well. It's the stuff that we've been through and really want to share with the world. So look forward to that. Thank you for watching, and looking forward to seeing you in a future video.